a blessing for counting the Omer, and then we'll get started on our discussion for the evening. So please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitchanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, who sanctifies us with mitzvot and commands us in the counting of the Omer. And we announce the day of the Omer, first in Hebrew, Hayom Hamisha Ushloshim Yom Shehem Hamisha Shavuot LaOmer, which means today is 35 days, which corresponds to 5 weeks of the Omer. Oh, 5 weeks. That means we have 2 weeks left. So tonight I want to talk about something that is not fun for most people to think about, but is really important, which is what we do, the choices we make about what happens to our bodies after we die. And the reason that I want to talk about this is twofold. One is well, actually threefold. One is that in general, I am a big advocate for thinking about and talking with loved ones ahead of time for what you want at the end of your life, um, and also what you hope for what happens to your body afterwards. Because a lot of families um, really agonize when it's not clear what the wishes of the person are who has died, and you truly are giving your loved ones a gift by having those really hard conversations. So that's just sort of in general. And in terms of climate justice, I think so. We normally think about burial and cremation as the two main options for what happens with our bodies. And I think some people know, not everybody, that cremation is pretty bad for the environment. But and I don't know how many people know that actually burial is not great for the environment either. It's not as bad as cremation, my understanding is, but it's still not great. And part of that is because of the way when your body is decomposing um, underground, the way it is with sort of traditional burial practices in America, at least. Um, there's not a lot of oxygen that can get through. I'm not a scientist, but it's my understanding of it. There's not a lot of oxygen, and so the result when your body does decompose is that it releases a lot of methane, greenhouse gas, which is not wonderful. And in Jewish tradition, I mean, actually, there are a lot of sort of the Jewish traditions around burial that we already have lend themselves to being more environmentally friendly. So Jewish burial practices typically involve a simple pine box for the casket, not a lot of extra stuff. We don't embalm bodies, and so that does help. It really does help, but it's still not great. And then there are all sorts of other issues at play the, with the environment, including um, you know limited resources in terms of land and living space, and the increasing numbers of people or population that needs to be buried. So, and the reason that I'm thinking about this right now is you may be aware, probably are aware, that semi recently there was a law that was passed in Washington state to legalize what they call natural organic reduction, which is a fancy, evasive way of saying human composting. It doesn't sound as, human composting. It sounds a little, gets to the point, but maybe isn't as pleasant to hear than natural organic reduction. But so a law was passed legalizing this. I think Washington is the first state where it was legalized, and the first facility recently opened up, Recompose. Their website is recompose.life. highly advise that you check out their website. It's a beautiful website, and it has some really, really lovely sentiments about just like embracing talking about the process of dying and how that is really uncomfortable, but it can be really beautiful. Um, and so I really like the website in general. And there's lots of great information in there. And so according to Recompose, they say on their website that for everyone who chooses Recompose, or this process of human composting over conventional burial or cremation, 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide is prevented from entering the atmosphere. Um, and their approach to human composting requires an eighth of the energy of conventional burial or cremation. And so there's all sorts of information about their process and how they, in environmentally healthy way, use our bodies to turn it into soil that can then go back into the earth, that it's like very nutrient rich. And so I really, really encourage you to check that out. It's not an easy thing to think about, but part of what we're doing is we're thinking about during this Omer project is thinking about all sorts of different ways where we can consider our impact on the environment. And one of the things that we can do is think about the way that our death and what happens to our bodies after we die, how that will impact the environment, because it will have an impact on the environment one way or another. And so thinking about what choices we want to make. And this is all really new. Jury's still out. I'm not even sure. I am very interested in this, but I don't feel like I know enough to say like, yeah, everyone should sign up now and do this for sure. But I'm definitely interested, both in terms of a Jewish perspective and an environmental perspective. I'm interested in sort of the concepts behind it and the science behind it. And clearly, I mean, there right now there's one facility that has like 8 spots or something like that. So it's, even if everyone wanted to do it today, we probably wouldn't be able to. So, but I think it's definitely something to look out for. And one thing that gives me hope is that just in general, the movement of green burial is more of a conversation in our country. So again, people are embracing their discomfort to have these really important conversations. So I would love to hear what you think. Leave a note in the chat, and look forward to learning more about this with you all.